Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Petty revenge chicken tastes good. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Apparently, I'm your subordinate now? I don't think so. I was at my local campground/bar. I was just enjoying a drink or two. Been going there for many, many years. We have a trailer there, and I live not too far from there, so I go on occasion. Anyhow, I'm sitting there enjoying my Coors Light when a bunch of people walk in. Apparently, there is a big group out with their side-by-sides, ATV. I mean, we're talking 150 or 200. They have a route they're taking, and I guess this place was on the list. On to the story. Bev was bartending by herself. Usually things are pretty quiet there, no big deal. As people start coming in, she was getting more and more behind, and more people were coming in. I'm sitting there, and Bev asked me to grab her some beer out of the walk-in cooler. I grabbed it and went behind the bar to put it where it belongs so she can grab it. I did this several times. She needed a bar back. Occasionally while I was back there, I'd grab a beer for someone. If they needed a mixed drink, I'd tell Bev what I gave them and what they still needed. All was going well. Until Gail walked up. Not calling her Karen, her name's Gail. She's a B. Side note here, I've known this lady for 15 years. She never remembers me. I'm beneath her. I did marry into a well-known family, and I don't own a business, whereas she did/does. Gail had been playing pull tabs. I live in Wisconsin. There are pull tab machines in the bars here. There are also slot machine games. Those are for amusement only, so she was playing pull tabs. Well, she won $40 on something. Anywho, I was stocking a cooler, and she told me she needed her money. I looked at her and said, "Oh, that's Bev. She'll get to you in a bit. She's a little swamped right now." Gail says, okay. I go and grab some more beer for stocking. Not 5 minutes later, she asks me again for her money. I tell her again, "That's Bev. I'll let her know you need your money." She comes back with loudly, "How long am I going to have to wait? Like an hour? I don't have that kind of time." I tell her, "Hey, I don't even work here. I'm just trying to help out. In fact, you're standing in my spot. That's my beer. That's my wallet. I work in a pharmacy. I'll tell you the same thing I've been telling everyone for a year now. We're doing the best we can. Please be patient. She'll get to you soon." Gail decides to get rather loud and try to get other patrons on her wagon. "I can't believe this is taking so long. I own a bar. My bartenders would never do this. She's down there getting their drinks and won't even come down here to get me my money." I decide I've had enough of Gail. I go and grab Bev, bring her down to Gail, and start knocking on the bar with nearly every other word. "Bev, this lady, knock knock, needs knock, her knock, money, knock knock, she's very important, knock knock, she owns a bar, knock knock knock, she needs her money now, knock knock knock, you knock, need to knock, stop serving drinks, knock knock, and get her knock money, knock now, knock knock." Not really nice of me, I know, whatevs. Bev gets her money, and all's well and fine. I go back and sit down. There were a few people that witnessed all of this and thought I was going to come over the bar. I thought I handled it quite well. A few of the regulars wanted to know what bar she owns to make sure they don't go there. Seriously, lady, we were just trying to have a couple of beers. After 2 hours, Bev was all cut up, and I moseyed on home. And our next story. Tell staff to get back to work when discussing wages. So I've worked in a retail chain for the past 3 years and can't be more unhappy with the company. Started off in-store and then got a position with corporate when they needed someone willing to travel and set up new stores. It was a pretty sweet gig, and I was guaranteed job security only for my position to be eliminated 6 months later due to budgeting issues, i.e. corporate doesn't know how to manage their spending while being cheap with overhead. I got stuck back in a store and have been job hunting ever since. Recently, some changes have been happening in our company. For one thing, some of the stores that I helped set up only a year or so ago were already closing. I heard whispers about corporate shutting down my store, so I went ham on the job hunt and landed a decent office job with better pay and benefits. Another big change that happened recently was how we handle employees discussing their wages. Recently on a conference call, our DM had to specify it's technically illegal to tell employees they're not allowed to discuss wages, like, duh, guys, but they still wanted management to discourage this behavior. Their solution? Redirect the conversation to focus on their task at hand or give them a task to do. In other words, tell them to get back to work. Cue malicious compliance. Now, I'm a big advocate for workers' rights, and since I've already got another job in the bag, I don't have a F to spare about upholding this company's image any longer. So anytime I hear employees talking about wages, I let them know corporate doesn't like that, and I'm supposed to tell them to get back to work. But since it's their right to know their wages, please feel free to continue. And our last story. Block driveways in our neighborhood? Expect what's coming. 2 years ago, a new family moved into our quiet little neighborhood and began their reign of terror. We've lived here for over 20 years, and except for the past 2 years, it's been wonderful. I love our neighbors, except for this family. This family just sucks. I don't even know where to begin. They're loud, they're dirty, they're obnoxious, their dog barks at all hours, they constantly yell at each other and throw parties well into the night. They steal my older neighbor's paper. They actually trained their Rottweiler to fetch the neighbor's paper. Impressive, but wrong. They throw their dog's poo in other yards. Ugh, so much. They even cut my 80-something-year-old neighbor's prize roses for themselves. Who does that? There are about 100 issues I could write about and how we've all dealt with them, but this past weekend was my own glorious take on it all. Oh, and yes, we tried talking to them. We tried inviting them over. We've done nice things for them, and all we've expected is that they act like decent neighbors. That's never happened. In our neighborhood, parking is scarce. Most of these homes are classic 1950s with single-lane driveways, and parking is limited even on the streets. There's a busy road a few blocks away that has great nightlife and popular restaurants, which means that at times, especially on the weekends, the street can fill up. This family has 4 drivers and 5 vehicles with only enough space for 2 in their driveway at a time. Constantly, they would park and leave their vehicle for days, sometimes weeks, in front of other people's homes. Sometimes leaving their driveway empty for no reason, with all of their cars parked on the road. I kind of believe that, in itself, isn't that big of a deal, except for how and when they would do it. They were intentional about it. All would do so and try to cause the most grief for everyone. And this went on for months. A complete FU to everybody. After months of this and no one retaliating or giving them the satisfaction of how PO'd we were, they started parking deliberately in ways to make it difficult to get out of our driveways. I had to have my husband come out most mornings to guide me so I wouldn't hit their car as I backed out of my driveway. There were also times where they squeezed my neighbor's car on the street to where they couldn't get out. Finally, an older, retired neighbor goes down to the city/police station and inquires about what to do. They found a code or law stating that so much space from the sides of the driveway and yada 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 is required, so we come home one night to find freshly painted yellow curbs outlining every house surrounding this one. A few weeks ago, my husband's car breaks down and he has to get towed. On his way back, he starts talking with the tow truck driver about these a-hole neighbors and their cars. He tells my husband that if these cars are parked illegally, we should call the non-emergency line and they receive a ticket. To call him, he can tow them at owner's expense. It's the law. My husband and him keep talking and even meet up for a beer a few nights later. They're big fans of the Blazers. Rip City. He's a real good guy. About a month ago, we met a couple in our fair city, and it just so happens that the husband is an officer. We were already planning on meeting that Friday night, and when we met, I brought up the a-hole neighbors and their parking. He says that he'll drive through on his shift if he gets time, and if he sees them parked in the yellow, he has no problem ticketing them. Great. He also gets some of his friends to check it out when they have time too. Fantastic. We've been calling almost daily at this point about their cars parked illegally, but nothing was happening. That Saturday night, he sends me a text saying he ticketed 3 cars. I missed that text, so no tow truck, but I kind of figured with the 3 tickets they'd get the idea. They didn't. Off and on all week, it was the same. This past Saturday, the teenage son throws a party and every single one of their guests and them parked in the yellow of someone's driveway or blocked someone out altogether. Obviously, the little crap told all his friends to block our driveway or block our cars in. I sent a text to our officer friend who told me to call the non-emergency line and he'd be the one to look into it. But I'm scheming bigger. I call up the tow truck driver and tell him that there are at least 15 cars parked illegally and all are about to receive parking tickets for blocking driveways and cars. I let him know we're friends with an officer and he and I scheme a little further. We get a solid plan. I call our officer friend back and tell him our plan and also mention that the party is likely going to be filled with underage drinkers. Now, I hate busting parties, but make exceptions for little craps, and especially little underage drinking and driving craps. He and I finalized the plan. Here's how it all went down. Officer and 3 of his partners go through the neighborhood citing all of the cars. Meanwhile, our tow truck driver friend has assembled a group of drivers in the nearby grocery store parking lot. Our husband and I make anonymous calls about a possible underage party. The tow truck driver starts at our end of the street, grabbing the cars as quickly as possible. A few alarms here and there, but no way they could hear it in the party. When they approach the house, my husband makes an anonymous call about an underage party in our neighborhood. Conveniently, our officer friend just so happens to still be in the neighborhood, so he and his partner go over to the house to check on it. As they knock on the door, lights go out, music shuts off, and the house goes quiet. At this moment, the tow trucks come in and are now towing the remaining 5 cars right from in front of the home. I just wish I could see the kids' faces inside as they're all having a dilemma about what to do. Do they go out and bust themselves for underage drinking and try to stop their cars from being towed? Or do they just sit and bite the bullet and watch $250 go down the drain? On Sunday, they had 3 cars returned from being towed, and all 3 are parked just shy of the yellow lines. I'll call this a win. My husband and a couple of neighbors also spent Sunday putting up some new cameras. They were all very giddy and loud about it. Something about all the lights and police Saturday made them nervous. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.